This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Well, people woke up this morning to Don Jr. having been hacked on Twitter, or that's what's being alleged. I looked at the tweets, and I'm not sure you can tell that they were from a hacked Don Jr. They might be from Don Jr. himself. And here to join me to talk about it is Cliff Schechter, the hardest working man as a guest on the show, anyway. How you doing, Cliff? It's been a long time.
I know. I mean, 3 weeks, I didn't know what to do. I almost was going to send you a postcard like we did back in the old days, you know.
Did you miss me?
Pigeon. I did. I need, this is a catharsis. I need, you are my spirit animal because we can both laugh at the same exact things, I think.
So am I more like your therapist? Like, how does that make you feel?
Exactly. Thank God do I need a lot of therapy. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, you're actually the one who brought this to my attention. I do follow Don Jr. on Twitter. His dad famously blocked me, famously for me, blocked me on Twitter back in 2018 or so. And so I had to follow the son to get like a proxy, a fix of the Trump tweets. For someone who is constantly going on about others and their misfortune, it's nice to take a little time to just luxuriate in Schadenfreude with Donald Trump Jr., no?
I would fully agree with that. I would say you think of a couple people, Idi Amin, Mussolini, others, Don Jr.,
yeah,
who, groupings of people who, in all seriousness, Don Jr. Is an evil little troll, and he honestly has taken such pleasure in the destruction of others' careers. What happened to Alexander Vindman, for example, I remember him, mocking him and others like that.
Sure.
No, I'm sorry. People can say I should be better than this. I'm not. I'm going to enjoy every minute. And again, infamously, he was the one who went to that Trump Tower meeting with the Russians when they promised him, Hillary's emails. And he said, if it's what I think it is, that's awesome, or that's great, or whatever it was. So he was more than happy to enjoy that when it happened to his opponent. So,
that was the famous Natalia Veselnitskaya meeting with Trump Tower.
Pronunciation, my friend. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm crying very, very little tears for him right now.
Well, I think it maybe has been put no more apt than Peter Wenner in The Atlantic in December 2021. He wrote this about Don Jr. Don Jr., Donald Trump Jr., is both intensely unappealing and uninteresting. He combines in his person corruption, ineptitude, and banality. He is perpetually aggrieved, obsessed with trolling the left, a crude, one-dimensional figure who has done a remarkably good job of keeping from public view any redeeming qualities he might have. And then he follows it up with this final paragraph that I'm going to read. It's a great article. I'll link in the description below. There's a case to be made that he's worth ignoring, except for this. Don Jr. has been his father's chief emissary to MAGA world. He's one of the most popular figures in the Republican Party, and he's influential with Republicans in positions of power. He's also attuned to what appeals to the base of the GOP. So, from time to time, it's worth paying attention to what he has to say. And maybe I offer that as a in advance of criticism of why are you even talking about Don Jr. That is precisely why he absolutely has his finger on the Koki pulse of MAGA world with his Rumble show or whatever, and people listen to what he has to say. So I think it is important. What do you think?
I would say for two reasons. One, exactly what you said. Remember, Don Sr. couldn't care less about guns, and famously in his book thought there should be gun control, right? Don Jr. is the one who's going out and trophy shooting and murdering, probably poaching. And, he is a MAGA guy. He's a spoiled little brat. And I happen to know the Mary Trump a little bit, and have heard even more stories. I mean, he's probably the one who's most naturally MAGA. Don Trump Sr. is doing it for the power, and, sure, he's got grievance and he's racist.
Yeah.
But Jr., he loves the political movement. The second reason is you learn in public relations and marketing, you can ignore a guy like that who's got 8 followers, or maybe even 80, or maybe even 8,000. But when the guy has millions of followers on
Sure.
Twitter, when he speaks at big rallies, he's going to influence people, and you have to rebut that.
Yeah.
So you can't ignore him. He's reaching too many people.
Some of these tweets, to get back to the fun of this.
Yes, let's make fun.
My favorite, of course, I think it will be a crowd favorite, was, "I am sad to announce my father, Donald Trump, has passed away. I will be running for president in 2024. And look, people may laugh at that, as I did and you just did, but can you imagine a Donald Trump Jr. run for president? I mean, I'm reticent to say that it would be a flash in the pan, go nowhere thing, but that's what I said about his father. I do believe that Don Jr. has political aspirations. So whoever hacked the account, if indeed it was hacked, they're tapping into something here that I think is real.
They are. In our current political age, there was a different time where Don Jr., you would just laugh. Yeah. We're in a time now where when you combine the name recognition, the cult, the fact that he has Florida and not New York as a base where he couldn't win anything, but Florida, he could step up, I'm sure, and win senator or governor. It would have a great chance at it, and then there'd be a national. So sadly, and again, we have a failing, and I think you did something on this the other day on Meet the Press. We have such a failing, just miserable in so many ways that I could go into that would bore people academically, but press that is not doing their job. If you look at the history of authoritarian movements in other countries and how they've been able to come about, they enable these guys so much that Don Jr. would arrive with 45% no matter what he did. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he could do anything and they would find a way to make it equivalent to something a Democrat did.
Well, I think you're really touching on something that is important, and also I've been trying to find a way to say it. You just did it. Is when we have a situation in our country where Marjorie Taylor Greene is at the highest levels of power in the Congress, and Lauren Boebert, and you've got J.D. Vance, your illustrious senator, is a United States senator. J.D. Vance. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Don Jr. could have these MAGA morons put him in office somewhere.
I honestly think you could find worse. I mean, it's not, well, there's not much worse than him, but like Charlie Manson would have a shot. I mean, there's nobody at this point because the press wouldn't know what to do. So as long as it's an American, and you have to be an American to run, if it was somebody from another country, then they'd feel free to rip on them. But they'll treat them as an equal,
right? And
try to be like, well, I mean, Don Jr., forget the 8-ball. He just did a 32 ball while sticking his head up his anus and rolling over on the floor. But Joe Biden's in his 80s.
Right,
so, right. I mean, that's what they would do. And that's why we're in the perilous position we're in.
They definitely traffic in false equivalency. The United States press, the media. I mean, there's a few standouts, but largely they act like they're calling balls and strikes when one team really hasn't even feigned to take the field and the other is trying to win the game. But it's all the same.
I'll be clear, yes, and I'm careful to say, Brian Karem, formerly at Playboy and now a writer at Salon, Kurt Bardella, Will Bunch, who should win a Pulitzer at the Philadelphia Inquirer, Rex Hubke of USA Today. There are some amazing journalists out there. So I'm never one of these enemy of the people. I'm not doing what Trump does.
Of course not.
It's that by and large, the press has massively failed us. We've had the rise of an authoritarian movement. It's obvious. And there's just even quirky and weird and stuff. I mean, with Lauren Boebert with the vaping and the getting felt up and the, I mean, she sang songs during Beetlejuice. I have to ask, first of all, was it in key? I'm sure it wasn't. Second of all, who gets horny during Beetlejuice? I mean, what's wrong with you there? So these people are weird. Like, they're not normal people, Jewish lasers and all this stuff. And yet when the press puts them into this sort of acceptable box, right? The establishment area, no matter how crazy outside here they are. And once they're in there, all the party regulars who don't pay close attention will vote for them. So they get them to a point where they are viable candidates. And in a normal democracy, the press is doing its job. They would be saying, if 98.9%, to pick something, of the things that were stupid or evil were done by Democrats, you would say that 98.9% of the time,
Yeah.
and then 1.1% you'd go after Republicans. But that's not how they do it. Everything is 50-50. So the fact that Republicans are probably responsible for, I'm just going to pick a number, 85 to 90% of the insanity, the corruption, the cruelty, and that's probably giving them some generosity.
Yeah.
Joe Manchin, by the way, helps them out a lot there in lowering their number a little bit. Like that's where we are. And it's a terrible place to be because, again, we go back to this. John Jr., this is hilarious. That tweet's hilarious. There are some other ones. There are one or two we probably wouldn't want to repeat because there's some bad words in there. But, normally you'd just be like, this freaking clown. You'd say exactly what Peter Wenner said.
Yeah.
Right? But the guy that he described, who literally has nothing you could think of about him, I'd ask your viewers to, in the comments, if you can find a good quality of Don Jr.'s that you've seen, please share it with us.
And if you can't, even better, just write nope.
Yeah, just say nope because I can't find anything positive to say about that guy.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, listen, in your absence, I'm sure the audience was waiting with bated breath for your appearance. When you're not here, where can people find you? Lay that on everybody so they can hustle on over to your channel to subscribe.
In case we have another one of these crazy periods of time where it's like 3 weeks off the Jesse Dollemore show, and I'm waking up every morning just like, how am I going to get through this day? No, I have a lot of fun here. I kid. I really do. But you guys can find me. You can just find me at C. Schechter on YouTube. That is by far the best place. Growing YouTube channel. I want to be Jesse when I grow up, so working on that. And at Cliff Schechter on Twitter.
You got a lot of growing up to do if you want to be like Jesse.
I don't know. You're well beyond Don Jr. I'll give you that. So at least you got that going for you.
Well, good. We appreciate your analysis on this wildly important story, Cliff Schechter, and we'll have you back very soon. We won't have a 3-week hiatus because of dentist appointments and everything else.
We just can't. Thank you. Seriously. Thanks for having me, man.
Good to see you.